Let's grab a word with James Wild, MP for North West Norfolk. He's been campaigning for the new hospital ever since he was elected. Morning to you, James. Are you well?
Good morning, Anna. Lovely to speak to you.
Oh, and you too. I bet you were gutted yesterday.
Well, look, I'm frustrated we haven't had a decision made, frankly, some time before now, because the need for a new QEH is well known, it's well established. But I met the Chancellor the day before the budget, and he said to me this was going to be a growth budget focused on the growth announcements. So he wouldn't be making the new hospitals announcements, but he reassured me that the Health Secretary will be making announcements on the new hospitals soon. And the Health Secretary, who has said fixing RAC, fixing QEH is his top priority, say, I don't think people should be despondent. It's frustrating we're having to wait, but I'm hopeful that'll be soon. I hope it might be next week, if not the following week.
Okay. I mean, in terms of the announcements for this, could it mean that there might not be an announcement? I mean, until after the elections in May, because of the rules of the election, or is that going ahead? Was that confirmed to you?
The indications I've had, and I've spoken to the Chancellor, the Prime Minister, the Health Secretary on multiple occasions in the last couple of weeks, is that we're going to get an announcement out soon. I hope that will be next week. I hope it will be certainly well in advance of any local election type issues, because the staff and the patients need the certainty that there's going to be a new hospital coming to King's Lynn. The minister in charge of the hospitals programme has said we need to get QEH and the others into the programme. So we've come a long way in 3 years. When I was first elected, we weren't on the list. We weren't close to the list. But by working together with the hospital, with other MPs, with councillors, with the local communities backing, we've changed that. And so I think we're very close to what we all want to get. And now we need to keep that campaign together, keep that unity, and keep making the argument and pushing for the announcement as soon as possible.
Yeah, I suppose campaigning is really good, and it's nice that the voices are being kept quite loud. But how long is it before those voices become quite frustrated? In terms of really finding out when this is going to happen. You'll know. You've been multiple times. You know the state that hospital's in. Do you feel time is running out to get a decision in time for that, or do you think that the momentum is still quite high in terms of people really fighting for this?
Yeah, let's be clear. I'm incredibly impatient and frustrated that we haven't had the decision. But you got to keep plugging away to get there, to get the decision and not give up. And I think that we've come a long way. And I think based on the conversations I've been had, and based on comments that have been made publicly by the Health Secretary, by the minister who's in charge of the new hospitals programme, they've talked a lot about fixing RAC and the need to solve this problem. And there's an end of life of QEH by 2030. So they know all of those issues, and they've been very clear that they want to do this. What we haven't had is a formal announcement yet. And as I say, when I saw the Chancellor on Tuesday, he said the Health Secretary would be making announcements on this soon. I hope very much that that'll be next week, and if not next week, then the week after. So we'll have that certainty, and then we could move into the next phase of the design and the planning and all the other things that need to happen. But people need that confidence that we'll have a decision, have an announcement, so that we'll know a hospital's coming, and then the work begins to actually develop it and then bring it here.
Are you hoping to get the Chancellor to come and have a look? He hasn't, seen it for some years.
He hasn't seen it for some years, but he has seen it obviously when he was Health Secretary. And in terms of the capital budget, in the autumn statement in November, he confirmed that he was going to be protecting the new hospitals programme, which I welcomed at the time. And in Parliament, talked to him about the QEH and reminded him of the issues, which he fully gets. So I think I've had a couple of health secretaries, numerous ministers there. I think people have seen enough of it. We don't really need any more visits. We just need a decision now, and that's what I'm pushing for. And as I say, I'm hopeful and confident that's going to be coming soon. So people shouldn't be too despondent. We were all frustrated that this is taking longer than we think it should have done. But let's hang in there and let's get this decision. Then we can all share and celebrate in that good news for staff and patients.
Open up behind the scene for us for a moment, James. When you are trying to campaign for something as important as a hospital, how do you have to really badger and be really annoying on a personal level to people higher up making those decisions?
Yeah, you have to make a bit of a nuisance of yourself, to the extent that when you're walking down the corridor, they see you and sort of turn around and try and get away from you before you raise it. And when I saw the Prime Minister a few weeks ago, I said I had a couple of issues I wanted to raise with him, and he said, well, one of them's going to be the hospital, so what's the other one? So you've got to get that level of recognition that people know about it. When I stand up in Parliament, when I asked about this at Health Questions a week or so ago, I was asking, the question was about eye care and eye appointments, but I worked it into a question about the QEH, and everyone in Parliament knew that I was going to do that, which got a few chuckles and things. And that's what you need to do to have the association of yourself with an issue to actually bring it across the line. So Steve Barclay, Jeremy Hunt, all of the other ministers, they know, the Prime Minister, they know what the number one issue is for me, and that's because it's the number one issue for my constituents, and that's what I'm here to deliver, and that's what I hope we'll get confirmation of very soon.
Well, keep banging that drum. Now, of course, it was the budget yesterday. A wide range of issues were covered. Which do you think will be the most significant for Norfolk in your view?
Well, I think the announcements on childcare, 30 hours a week for parents of children 9 months to 4 years old, will be very welcome. This is really about trying to help people to work, get back into work, or to work more hours. So that's one important measure. But things like freezing fuel duty for, I think, the 13th year we've done that. That will save people around another £100 a year. But a thing that's also important is getting rid of the premium that people who have prepay meters for energy have been paying, and that's going to be scrapped, so they'll be paying the same as people who pay by direct debit from July. So that will make a considerable difference as well. So I think there's a lot in there. There's things like fixing potholes. That drives people mad. There's an extra £200 million to sort out 4 million potholes. So across the board, there are a number of measures, but fundamentally this is about growth, getting companies investing, generous allowances to encourage them to do that, and helping people back into work, helping to get more disabled people into work. We've 2 million people have disabled people have moved into work since 2013, and we want to help more of them who want to do that and have the opportunity to be in employment. So this is a budget about moving the country forward and getting growth going, and the best way we can do that is to fill some of these vacancies that businesses across Norfolk are facing at the moment, from hospitality to all other sectors. They need more staff, and although we've got low unemployment, we need to encourage the people who are on unemployment benefit and help them to move into some of these vacancies.
I know a lot of parents are delighted. You refer to the childcare at the top there. People are delighted about that. Will there be some sort of infrastructure to support businesses, nurseries, childminders, to build their businesses? As I'm sure you're aware, the appetite for care staff for care homes and for sort of childcare is difficult to get those people into work, isn't it? It's difficult to find people who want to do the jobs. It's low paid.
That's right. So part of the package as well, obviously, is the very welcome extension of the 30 hours a week free, is to increase the hourly rates that are paid to providers of childcare, because that has been one of the barriers, as you've mentioned, and created problems for the sector, and also introducing grants for childminders who want to start up businesses, to encourage more people to come into the sector to have their own business doing this. And one of the other elements is changing the ratio of how many children can be looked after, so to bring it in line with what happens in Scotland. So it's not just saying here's the 3 hours and leaving it to the sector to come up with that. It's increasing the funding that's going into there, changing the market and encouraging new providers into the sector as well. So it's a package across the board. There
was quite a backlash last time when ratios were mentioned, and the change of those views of sort of safety and having many children being looked after like that. Is it likely they'll change?
Yeah, well, it's in Scotland at the moment. It's the ratio is 1 to 5, and at the moment in England it's 1 to 4. So we'll just be moving in line with what happens in Scotland, and I think that's a sensible measure to do as part of these wider reforms.
James, it's lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much for coming on and chatting to us. Northwest Norfolk